episode 15 of the interview series podcast thing. First one that I've done in the Bay Area since I've been up here living here. Today got legend himself, Justin from Field of Flames and Condition 1. Two of my favorite bands, I would say.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Really appreciate you wanting to reach out and do this.
Yeah. Just kind of starting it off. I mean, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? That sort of thing. I mean, kind of can dive into that.
Yeah, dude. So, like you said already, my name is Justin, and I grew up and I was born and raised here in San Jose.
Okay.
So, my parents aren't from San Jose. My dad was born in Mexico, and my mom was born in the Philippines.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they moved over here. I'm not too sure. I think we're like elementary school age, where like English was their second language.
Oh, okay.
Growing up here. My mom only had one brother, and her mom's who took care of my grandma, and my dad had like a family of, I think there's like 9 of them, and yeah, they both lived here in San Jose. I'm the middle child of 2 brothers, so I have an older and a younger brother, so there's 3 of us, and we're all 4 years apart, like approximately 4 years apart, and they all grew up with me as well here in San Jose. My younger brother still lives here, but my older brother lives down in like Orange County area. I think like Fullerton is where he lives, or like Santa Ana or something.
Definitely know where that
is. Yeah. So I haven't been to his apartment out there since he's moved there. But yeah, I pretty much grew up here with them the whole time, and that's where I still live now.
Nice. Have you ever like left the San Jose area?
Yeah.
For anything?
Yeah.
To live, I would say.
Yeah, I lived in Virginia for a little bit on the East Coast in 2016 from like February to like November, and I also had like temporary living like overseas in like Korea and Okinawa, Japan.
Why?
So for like military purposes.
Oh, you were in the military.
Yeah, and then but that was in 2019, I think, and that whole like period lasted about a year of like living over there.
Oh wow.
I didn't yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Had you ever been out of the country or out of the country since then? But like or before that point?
Not since then actually, because the pandemic kind of like ruined that. I plan on doing so like in the near future, probably next year. But before that, I had gone to Japan like on my own terms for just travel.
Nice.
And that was also like in 2018 or something like that. But other than that, I've been like Mexico a handful of times, like growing up with my family, just driving down there, not like flying over there. And yeah, that's about it.
Japan for me and my girl is like dream vacation. Like that's the spot that I want to go to. Everybody who I've talked to who has ever gone to Japan has always said Japan is so sick.
Dude,
and
that's
it's like the coolest.
Yeah, that's a cool destination for like you guys to want to go to, because there's so much to do there, and it's so like I think it's appropriate for anybody to go there and like enjoy something there, because it's just like any other like big city here in the United States. There's just plenty to do. I think the biggest upside to it is that the people are just friendlier and the conditions are like cleaner, and it's overall I think just like a safer place to be.
Yeah.
So there's kind of no reason why that wouldn't be like a destination for so many people to want to go do like a vacation there, you know?
Yeah. Are you into the like Japanese culture and stuff like that?
I think that
or did you just want to go just because?
I wanted to go just because I was supposed to go with Joseph and a couple of my buddies that year.
Oh, okay.
But our trips kind of like overlapped, and I didn't get to go with them. But
were you guys there at the same time though?
I think like days apart actually.
Wow,
but, like,
really?
I mean, as far as like interest in like overall just Japanese like culture, I developed like a stronger love for it, especially being like in the military and having gone over there for different purposes other than like just travel.
Strictly pleasure.
But I think currently I enjoy Japanese cuisine. That's about it. I'm not into super into Japanese like pop culture or anything too much.
That's cool. Kind of mentioning the other Bay Area people. How did you meet the other San Jose people that are currently in the Bay Area hardcore scene?
I can't remember specific instances like at all for meeting most of them.
Really?
But I kind of just met them growing up, like going to shows and stuff. So a couple of them through like mutual friends, and again, like I don't even remember like specific mutual friends or instances of how I had met certain people. But all just through hardcore, really, like specifically through hardcore to answer your question.
Just seeing them at shows and being like, oh, I like this music. You like this music.
Yeah, it's I guess so. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. That kind of leads me into my next question, which is how did you get into heavy music? Because everyone has some sort of unique story as to how or why they started listening to heavy music, because it's not for everybody, obviously. But I was just curious, like, as to what your personal connection with it was at the beginning.
I think I always link my entrance to like heavy music with an older cousin of mine who's probably like 5 years older than me. He's on my dad's side of the family. His name's Christian. He doesn't live here in San Jose, and he never has. He lives in Arizona actually, but I don't know what it was or like why I always wanted to be like him when I was like a kid. But like his interests and stuff, and like I remember in like his bedroom, everything always like was super intriguing. He was into like skateboarding. He was into like punk rock music. He had like a drum set. And stuff like that was always like super interesting to me at a young age. I'm not too
like
sure
the culture
why.
surrounding it.
Yeah, for sure. It was like interesting, and like coming from the family that I did, like no one in my family really liked rock music or knew what that
Heavy
was.
stuff.
Yeah, like my dad didn't know what like Led Zeppelin was, or I know some of these people like they're like, oh, my dad like showed me Guns N' Roses, or
Yeah.
no, my dad didn't like any of that shit at all. Like he really only liked Spanish music and then like 80s pop music that like he listened to with my mom, like in the 80s, like Madonna and stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But for like rock, yeah, my cousin Christian introduced me to a lot of bands like AFI, he showed me like any kind of like band that was in like skate punk like compilation videos at the time is like what he would tell me to listen to. Suicidal, the Ramones was like a big one for me. And I remember like taking it upon myself to like after he showed me these bands to go home and like look these bands up and download them off LimeWire on like my family's computer.
Educate yourself.
Yeah, it kind of really was. And I think one of the first bands I listened to and like owned like for myself that was big for me was probably like My Chemical Romance.
Okay,
you
nice.
know, like punk from that era and like Fall Out Boy.
Yeah,
stuff
and this
like
was
that.
This is probably in 2000s, I would assume.
I would say yeah, dude. I got into it pretty young. Like I was pretty young to listen to this stuff, kind of, because like usually kids are like in middle school discovering this kind of music for themselves.
Yeah,
I was probably like in like second or third grade.
Oh wow!
Like I was really young, really young.
And it's just kind of that familial influence of your cousin,
yeah,
being there from a young age, and then leading you into it, and you thinking that it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool from that. I remember like my back to school photos when I was like young, like when you have like your handprint on the wall of the classroom with like a picture of you or something.
Yeah,
it's me with like 2 missing front teeth and like a Ramones or AFI shirt or something.
That's cool.
And as far as like getting into the heavier side of it though, I kind of somehow like found like metal. Like, and Slipknot was like a really big band for me to get into like metal.
As it is for a lot of people.
Yeah, that was more so towards like my end of my elementary school years, like 5th grade.
Okay.
I kind of got into like the other like screamo affiliated bands that were kind of opening for bands like Slipknot on like bigger metal lineups. Like Atreyu was like a big band for me. Like Hawthorne Heights, more with like a hardcore influence, kind of, where they have like traditional breakdowns and not so much like metal parts in their tracks, and
more hardcore aspects to them than say
for
like
sure.
Slipknot or something.
Yeah,
like
more hardcore like elements to it for sure, like some of the Hellfest style like bands, and then from there I kind of got into hardcore when my cousin was like showing me even more stuff. It was like a constant continuation of like music that he was showing me like growing up. So as like his music taste was evolving and stuff like that, it was like definitely trickling down to me, and I was like following in the same footsteps, just like many years behind him in like age, and
gotcha,
and discovery. But that's it. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Do you remember the first heavy show that you went to, or heavy quote unquote?
So I remember like going to like bigger concerts and stuff after begging my parents to take me, like to see bands like I said, My Chemical Romance, like seeing them when like before the Black Parade even came out, like, and seeing like Slipknot and stuff like that. But as far as like a hardcore band that I saw, the first show I went to was when I went to go visit my family, like I mentioned, who lives in Arizona, is where my cousin Christian still lives.
Mm-hmm.
and we went to this show to see this band called Evergreen Terrace,
Okay.
and this other band played called The Warriors,
Nice.
and a band called Casey Jones played.
Okay.
The Warriors, or correction, Casey Jones and Evergreen Terrace is some like metalcore band from Florida,
Okay.
and the Warriors is another metalcore style band from here in California, actually, I think. And the headlining band was, I don't know if you're familiar with August Burns Red.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
this was like when August Burns Red was like kind of like a smaller band. This was like 2007, I think, or
Okay.
2008. But I was like in 4th or 5th grade or something at the time, more so when I was into like my metal music like phase. And after going to that hardcore show, like that kind of
Set
really,
it off.
yeah, it really did set it off from there, not to use that, for lack of a better term. But I think the most like memorable thing I remember from that show was I remember like waiting in line outside of this venue. It was called the Clubhouse, I think. And my aunt, my cousin's mom, is who dropped us off at this show, and it was my cousin and all of his buddies as well. And I remember we were paying to get into the show, and my aunt had given me like $12 because that's how much the show had cost. And I remember the dude at the door had like a jar of all the money, and I remember him specifically telling me like, "Yo, dude, like save your money and buy a shirt or something." And I got into the show for free.
Oh, that's cool. That's hella
Yeah.
cool because not everyone is. Well, it must have been like a DIY kind of setup.
Yeah.
Or would that not be correct? 'Cause
It was actually like a proper venue where like,
Oh, really?
where like they'd have rap concerts where like Tech 9 would have like concerts there and shit
Oh,
like
wow.
that. Yeah, but I don't know who was facilitating the door or why they thought that was okay at the time. I don't know, but he just let me in because I looked so young, and I mean I obviously was young, but I was a small ass kid, dude. I was like straight up like a 50-pound like fucking 5th grader,
Yeah, scrawny dude.
Yeah, and I remember buying my first like hardcore shirts at that show, and I still own them. This like Casey Jones,
Oh, nice.
and Evergreen Terrace T-shirts, and they're actually in youth sizes because bands used to print like youth sizes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I still have them in my storage garage.
That's cool. That's very cool. So you see this show in Arizona, and are you immediately going back to the Bay and you're going, I want to find out where the next thing is happening? Or was it kind of way more down the line for you?
I'd say a couple more years down the line, because up to that point, the only hardcore shows I would continue to go to from there were when I would go visit my cousin.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
know like hardcore was as big of a thing as
Yeah.
like it actually was, especially during
Or
that
is
time.
widespread?
Yeah, like in Northern California, like I didn't have any friends who listened to hardcore. I wasn't anywhere close to getting a driver's license yet. I had like a MySpace. I remember like in like 6th grade I had like a MySpace, and I kind of started discovering like local bands like on MySpace from there. But yeah, it wasn't until like I'd say years later, like 2009, is when I started like asking my parents to take me to shows like here in the Bay Area.
Oh, so they would drive you?
Yo, yeah, for sure. Yeah, my parents would drive
Shout
me to
out
shows.
to Justin's parents for driving him to the shows.
Yeah, and they thought that was crazy because they're like, yo, it's some crazy like white boy shit. Like there's like there's like kids like swinging on each other and like mosh pits and stuff.
It's what everyone thinks when they don't know what it's
Yeah,
about,
they think it's like crazy, because no one else in my family except Christian had to listen to that. And I remember like everyone in my family thought like, oh, he was the different one because he had like piercings in his ears. He was definitely like the different one.
He was more
And
punk.
Yeah, he liked like punk and stuff like that, and he had like gauges in his ears and shit like that. And I remember that was like nothing that like our parents grew up ever seeing or like being exposed to, so it was kind of like offsetting for them at first to like allow me to do these things at such a young age.
Because especially at that time, it was such a subgenre as well.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
more so than it
for
is
sure.
now.
Yeah, even more so than it is now. So these weren't like formal venues and stuff I was seeing bands at where you could buy the ticket online and like a security guard pat you down to get inside, and it's like safe in all ages,
Mhm.
It's sometimes it's like unsettling for parents to like, they would drop me off to shows and I'd be like, "Oh, can you pick me up around the corner, drop me off around the corner," after there had been like say some kind of like fight or like disturbance at the show for whatever stupid reason. And but yeah, that wasn't until later on, to answer your question, like 2009 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's when like the people that you know now that like we're talking about probably started like seeing me when they said, "Oh, I remember when he was like younger." It was probably around like 2010 or so, like 2010 and 11 is when I think I started like going more frequently to where like people like started seeing me. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
I don't know other people's perspective
So that
about me.
that's
Yeah.
that's when like you started becoming familiar with other Bay Area people who are
Yeah,
prevalent.
I wouldn't even
now.
say being familiar with them because I would go to shows by myself and I would leave by myself.
Oh,
And that's
really?
really it. Yeah. So I didn't know any of these people yet. No.
Okay. So down the line from there, when do you start wanting to involve yourself in hardcore? Actually, let's go even farther back. When did you first decide that you wanted to pick up an instrument?
I first wanted to pick up an instrument when I saw my cousin Christian own a drum set. It like provoked
to
me to
Christian.
want to get a
Shout
drum
out.
set. So yeah, dude, it was this whole, and he always, he played drums and stuff like that, and he would have his drum set in his room, and I remember his room was so different from everybody else's in the homes because his family's home was like they had like nice carpet and everything, and his room was just like it was tile floor. Like what kind of kid has like tile floor in their bedroom?
Yeah.
And you'd have like chips of like drumstick like wood on the floor, and his drum set was like, damn, I really wish I could like play drums too. So I'd ask my parents to like buy me a drum set, and I think the drums were the first instrument that I learned how to play. And this is probably I don't even know how old I was. I was probably like 8 or 9.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and same with the guitar. Guitar came shortly after, and the
All
reason,
self-taught?
yeah, this is all self-taught. So the reason why I wanted to pick up a guitar was because my older brother, I remember, just prior to this, like this recording, we were talking about my grandma for a little bit.
Yeah.
She had gotten him like a small toy guitar, like the size of a ukulele. It was like a toy kid's guitar.
Okay.
You know, my brother was like, I don't know, he's probably in 5th grade or something. Way too old for that, you know?
Yeah, like
But
a plaything.
yeah, so he ended up getting an actual guitar though. My parents sent my older brother to guitar lessons like over like Eastside San Jose. There's like a guitar lesson studio there. It's no longer there anymore. But I remember when he would come home from guitar lessons, he'd have this like book where it was like you can read the music, and they had like a section for like actual notes you could read and a section for like guitar tabs.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, 1, 7, whatever the hell, whatever it was,
Yeah.
And they had like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on it and stuff. And this guitar was like, I remember it was built for kids. It was like a smaller acoustic guitar, but it was still like too big for me.
Oh,
I remember being a kid and it was still too big for me. Like I
yeah,
couldn't.
dude, those acoustic guitars are really big.
Yeah, it was it's
Even
such a
for
big
little
instrument.
kids.
Yeah, I remember picking it up. Like I would like unzip his like guitar case and I would take it out and I'd always like play it. Like I'd honestly probably play it more than he did.
Yeah.
It was like so intriguing. I wanted to pick it up and play it, and then I eventually ended up getting my own guitar, and my first electric guitar was given to me from my uncle on my mother's side, who so my aunt is like a Filipino woman who married like a white man, and this guy he was familiar with like Eric Clapton and like rock and stuff like that,
like American.
Yeah, like American
stuff,
like rock
yeah.
or whatever. And my first electric guitar was given to me from him, as well as like a small amplifier.
Okay.
And it was like some cheap, like it wasn't even like a Gibson Les Paul. It was like an Epiphone Les Paul, like the more budget brand version of this guitar. And if I have like a picture of it, I'll show you later. I do have a picture on my phone. Maybe after this, I'll show you a picture of me playing it, so you can like get an idea of like how big this guitar looked in my hands.
Yeah.
Where I didn't have a guitar strap, I'd have to like sit cross-legged on the floor and try to navigate it. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you riffing on first? Were you picking up the acoustic guitar and trying to learn, say, Slipknot songs, or were you starting off with more acoustic stuff, or were you trying to learn metal and punk right away?
I was doing the acoustic stuff more because I would just repeat those same tabs on like the guitar book.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I got that electric guitar is when I started, thinking to myself, oh, now I can play the stuff that I like to hear, that I like to listen to in my headphones. And during that time, that was before like my like heavier music phase, so I'd play like Green Day tracks on like my guitar, or learn how to do like a cool power chord or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say Green Day was like a pretty big influence as far as like learning how to play an electric guitar. And I think that goes for a lot of people who play guitar. I think Green is like a pretty good entry
Pretty
level like
fundamental band.
yeah, it's a fundamental band for like people to learn how to play like a power chord and like basic song progressions and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's about it. Like, and during that time, I think American Idiot had like just came out. So like I was, everywhere I was always listening to like Wake Me Up with September Ends and shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And the songs were like on the radio like pretty often.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I would always want to play on guitar as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can go back to what I was going to say after the Arizona segment and when you started getting into shows. When did you decide that you wanted to start participating in music? Just like to have a band and start your own thing?
Dude, like I always wanted to, like when I was, even before I knew what hardcore was, and like I always had like dreams of playing like in a band. And like I remember like on the like back to school like narratives that we'd write, like, oh, about me or what I did this summer type thing, like in elementary school, or what you want to be when you grow up and stuff like that. I'd always put like musician or like rock musician or something. I'd always put that like all the time. That's like all and every time they would do like, they'd have like self-portraits. I don't know if you'd ever do that in elementary school, but you do a self-portrait. You draw yourself like in colors and stuff. It'd always be like me with a guitar.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to play in bands, but it wasn't until like middle school where I met another kid in my age, in my grade, who I don't talk to anymore, but he was into like punk rock, like for sure. Like he's the one who showed me like what Minor Threat was, and he's the one who'd give me like Dead Kennedys CDs and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't talk to him anymore, but I remember like always having the idea of starting a band with him. And there's been a couple times where like I was like, oh, I have a drum set at my house, like you play guitar, like you should come over, we should like write some stuff. And it was like really, really bad like punk music. And I think the name of our first band that like we had formed that we never even played shows with was called Screaming at a Wall, because that was a Minor Threat song.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and that's my favorite Minor Threat song.
Yeah, that's a great song.
And we had like 2 songs. I remember like one of the song names was called like What Can I Do? And then I forgot what the second song was called. I don't remember. I just remember he had a song called What Can I Do? And it's about just like being frustrated or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, some edgy middle school type
Yeah, for
shit.
sure. It wasn't like a formal band. It was literally just me and him, and we didn't play his music for anybody. It was never recorded except on like
just some garage rock type shit.
Yeah, it was like for sure garage rock. Like we play it in a garage, and at the time the garage that I had lived in my dad's house was separate from the house, because it was like a duplex condominium, like over there like off of Taylor in like northern part of San Jose, I guess.
Okay.
And yeah, so we had other people living in the houses like literally feet away from this garage, and like some older it was like older Vietnamese family, and they'd be so pissed every time we'd be making this garage band noise.
What is that noise?
Yeah, dude, it was awful. Like there's been times where like
noise complaints.
Yeah, people would just like complain so much about the noise like down the street. Like, oh, you're growing up, dude, all the time, because not only do I play drums and guitar, but my younger brother does. My older brother plays guitar and stuff. But so
everyone's playing music.
Yeah, in our family at least, like not any of my cousins or anything besides like Christian, he still plays music, but like besides him, no one else in my family. It's just me and my brothers are always known for the ones to, oh, you guys, that's the music kids, Every time we go to like a party, they're like, oh, you should have your brothers play guitar or do something.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah. But always growing up, there'd always be noise complaints, and people would like see us and be like, oh, you're the kids from down the street that play drums, or like you're the kids that play guitar really loud. But that was like my first.
That was the first thing.
Yeah, it was me with that dude from middle school
who
I don't talk to anymore actually.
Okay. So from Screaming at a Wall?
Yeah, Screaming at a Wall.
Screaming at a Wall. From there, you are playing with this other dude, and then from there, when did you play shows? What was the first project that you had where you actually were playing shows for people?
So that dude I was in that band with, I said Screaming at a Wall, he was into like punk music and not so much like hardcore during like middle school when I was like getting into it, like 6th grade. So like I would show him what Terror was, and he was like, oh, well, listen to this because this actually derived from like way back from here. And I was like, all these things are piecing together, and I was like, makes sense. And I felt like I was like a super knowledgeable kid for like my age, but I was just super naive still. And I took him to like a couple like hardcore shows, and that's when like I started like meeting more people like in the scene. This was probably 2011, I'd say. You know, more than like 10 years ago now.
Wow.
But eventually I kind of like just like had a falling out and like broke it off with him. Didn't really talk to him like too much because I was like straight edge. I remember he was also like straight edge at the time too. But during middle school he started getting into like smoking like cigarettes or whatever, like just weird stuff like that, and like hanging out with like just weird people. And I started becoming more affiliated with like people who weren't like my age at all and didn't go to my school. You know, these are people like who go to hardcore shows. And I thought they were so much older at the time, which I mean, you know, I guess they were. Maybe they were like the people I was talking to were like 16, 17 at the time. It's much older than like a 7th grader, you know?
Oh yeah.
These people with like driver's licenses and
definitely.
stuff.
Well,
And
an age gap back in when you're 13, 12, and the age gap between you and another person is 4 years. It seems like a lifetime.
yeah, it really
know?
does. Yeah, it absolutely does. Now, like, you know, it doesn't really feel like it when like my friends are a lot older than I am
everyone's
now.
Everyone's kind of developed the same
Yeah,
mentally and
for
stuff.
sure. Everyone's like on the
Bent
same
to the same
page.
stuff.
Yeah. As far as like hardcore though, my first like hardcore band and like hardcore live performance was a band that I had started myself called Hard Age.
Hard Age.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I actually didn't name it that. I had a buddy who lives here in San Jose who I played in another band with after that with Mike Dirt. Actually, he was in our band also.
Really?
This
when
was
when was that?
This was like years later on down the line.
Oh,
But
okay.
the dude who sang in that band that I was just telling you about, he is the one who titled the band Hard Age. I'm not sure why. I think he liked Iron Age, the hardcore band Iron Age, and I think he probably got it from that. I'm not too sure. I never really asked him where he got that name from, but I remember there was 5 of us. There was 5 of us in that band,
Oh, nice.
and I remember I was originally supposed to play drums, but then when I went to the practice like for the first time, my buddy at the time, who I don't talk to anymore, who I won't even like name, he was like, "Oh, I thought I was playing drums." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll play guitar then." And he had his guitar then. I was like, "Thankfully, I know how to play guitar. I can just try to do this." Horrible drummer. He was so bad.
Really bad. Oh,
yeah.
man.
I think the only
man.
yeah, dude, he was such a bad drummer. So like we'd have some pretty like thorough practices where I was like had him get like dialed in to play the songs that we wrote. Like if you're having a hard time playing the songs that you wrote, like it's kind of rough, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Very, very true.
And for some reason we had 2 vocalists. No idea why we thought that was a good idea, but I think because we just wanted like I don't know exactly why that even came to be. I think 2 of our friends like
They just
wanted to do it, and then it's like, "Oh, well, let's just do 2. That'd be cool, you know?" And like maximize it. And it's so stupid. It didn't sound good at all cuz their vocals did not complement each other well. And my buddy Sai, his vocals were by far like better, I'd say, you know. I wish I wish this guy could like be in the band like and sing full time or whatever.
Just him, yeah.
Yeah, but the first show we played as Hard Age after we had wrote and recorded like a really crappy sounding demo was like in 2012.
Okay.
So the demo is recorded by our friend Fred.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays in this band called Force to Suffer.
Okay. Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think he also plays in these streets right now too.
Oh really?
If I'm not mistaken. I think he either fills in for
Has
him
he
or plays in
recorded someone else's work as well?
He's recorded a couple bands, I think, during that time. I'm not sure about any time recently that he's recorded any bands.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
You know, I love that dude, man. He had so much like faith in like my abilities as a young kid to
really?
like, you know, to go to his house and like record like a demo that I had asked him to record for whatever I had in my pocket as far as like money goes. You know, I didn't have any money to pay for this, but these songs were all written really by like me. I wrote all of the songs, and on the recordings I was so disappointed because like I wanted the drums to sound good, and they didn't come out the way I wanted them to, but I was so desperate just to have like something out, you know, that people could listen to. And it came out like super bad. I still have like a CD of it, I think. And I remember like on the demo like CDs that I would like pass out. So I'd have my mom, she had worked as like some kind of like HR lady in the office, or some kind of like receptionist at like a desk here in the Bay Area. And I would have her like take blank CDs for me from work. I was like, "Oh, if you can go to one of the cubicles or somewhere, like find blank CDs from work, can you give them to me?" And she would give me tons of blank CDs, and I would make I would burn all of our songs onto CDs, and I'd give them out like at shows.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone still has them out. I would like to see if someone really does still have
Wow.
one. But I remember putting like Hard Age Demo 2012 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put For Fans of, Kids Like Us, and Alpha and Omega. I remember writing that specifically because
Nice.
I really wanted it to sound like Kids Like Us, and I also really liked Alpha and Omega. And I remember Sai was like, he'd always be like, oh, I really want to sound like the singer of that band. That was like his influence, like such a big influence for him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we played our show in 2012 in this garage, dude. And I had like my dad come and everything. This was
Nice. Did you play with anyone else?
Yeah,
Any other bands?
the only band I remember playing with, like at that show, I think True Hearted played.
Okay.
True Hearted was a band.
That was my other question. I was gonna say, did you ever play shows with like True Hearted or
Yeah,
Bad
Hard
Times
Age
Crew
and
or
True Hearted.
any-
I remember like being so stoked when I saw that True Hearted was on it because like they were like one of the bands at the time like in San Jose that really sounded like what I liked as far as like modernized hardcore.
Mhm.
You know, and I was like, fuck, like every time they were on it, I was like super stoked, and I would try to roll out to see them. And when I saw that like we were playing with them, I'd always be like, fuck, we got to play really good. And like, I felt so honored to be a part of that, like, to be seen at the same show like with them because I just had so much respect for those guys, and I still do for Cole and for Elliot and all of them,
yeah.
you know. And I feel so honored to like be their actual like friend at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid, I would just like see their band play. I think True Hearted was the only other band I remember playing that show. And
Did you ever play with like Bad Times Crew or like
yeah,
any of those
with
other-
them as
other
well.
people
Yeah,
as
a
well?
handful of times like Bad Times Crew as well. I think their demo also came out like, I mean, they were a band like before I think Hard Age was. I think I'm not too sure, but their demo came out like I think similar time or similar time frame, like 2011 or 12 probably.
Mhm.
And but yeah, that was the first show I played. It was over in a garage. It was here in San Jose. It was with Hard Age and True Hearted, and I remember we were the first band that played. And I remember the show started so early, dude. It started like at, I think like before the sun went down. I remember before the sun went down, it was like 5 p.m., 5:30 or something random. But you know, we only had like 4 songs. We tried to like extend the set like as much as we could with like dead space and just like talking and stuff. And it was just 4 measly like 2-minute long tracks.
Dang.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh man, that was bad. There actually is a video of it somewhere online, and I'll show you it. I'm not going to share it with people, but I'll show you it.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see that. That's fucking awesome. That's really cool. So, how would you say, this is kind of like jumping more to the present, but how would you say that the culture in Bay Area hardcore has changed from when you were first coming up and first getting into it and now? Just with the bands and the people that show up and that sort of thing, how big the scene is, all that sort of thing.
Scene for sure much bigger. As far as like the personalities and the people, definitely more welcoming and friendly. As far as like the music itself, definitely more saturated with bands, you know, and not only just bands but recordings to like show for what they're doing, you know,
Yeah.
instead of just like, because there were bands I would go see where like they wouldn't have music out, or like their music was only available in a really obscure like link online somewhere. It's like a media fire, you know. It was hard to get access to it.
So now people are, you would say, like putting out more stuff.
Yeah,
and
so there's
actually
more
getting their music out there.
Content. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's more like stuff out there. And then lastly, besides all those other 3 things I just mentioned, I would say it's more open to different like styles. It's more open-minded for sure, you know, because now anything can be considered like hardcore as long as it has like a hardcore mentality and comes from like a hardcore scene by hardcore affiliated people. It doesn't really matter what it fucking sounds like, because it'd be like, oh, this is a hardcore band.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I think of bands.
Sound and Fury is a great example.
That
of
is a perfect example, and like it, you know, a really good example for sure. You know, the bands that played there and everyone I saw, I was like, yo, this is like a hardcore. Everything about this is like hardcore, but at the same time, it's like
a
not
smorgasbord
everybody.
of different things.
Yeah, but it's not at the same time. Not everybody sounds like the same. Whereas like before, I felt like, you know, from a kid, like looking at this stuff from like a distance without knowing anybody or having any kind of bias, I thought there was like you had to look a certain way, you have to sound a certain way, you know, you have to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know, and they're definitely
There were rules.
Yeah, I feel like they're like unwritten like rules of like how someone should like look and stuff like that, and it was just not as open minded, I would say. And now that it is, I guess that's a I think it's a good thing for sure, compared to back then, because there were like, I think a good example of what I can say right now is that buddy I mentioned who I went to middle school with, I remember he was so turned off by the fact that like everyone at shows like kind of looked the same almost, and I remember was just totally not down with like the hardcore like look that people had at the time. Whereas like me, I was like, yo, yeah, dude, everybody wears like a fitted hat, or everybody wears basketball shorts. Everybody does, I was like, and that's not weird or anything. And he was always like, that's so dorky. Like everybody looks the same or whatever. And looking back at it now, like he's kind of right. It is a little silly that's the way it is. I think it's kind of dumb. But
now there's a little bit of a little piece of the pie for everybody.
For sure, yeah. There's something for everybody now, and regardless of what it is that's for you, like it can be hardcore,
Yeah.
in the nature of hardcore and whatever it is, the sound of how it is. But
so hardcore's in a really good place in your opinion at the moment in the Bay Area and then kind of everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're getting into hardcore like now, like this is probably the best time to be able to do so.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's ever gonna go back to how it used to be, or I don't know if it'll ever even be like this again in the future. I don't know. So I'm enjoying it for what it is now, and I think everybody else should too, because
Nice.
It's super positive right now.
For sure. Well, we are, let's see, 38 minutes in, and we still haven't even touched on any of your bands yet.
Okay,
Some of my
ahead,
favorite
yeah.
stuff. Let's, I guess, start with Field of Flames and what was the concept for starting that band in particular? Did you want to start a straight edge band? Did you want to start a band that sort of sounded like how FOF does now, or what were kind of the thoughts when creating it?
Okay, so Field of Flames first of all started in 2017, and during 2017 I was also the tail end, I guess, and also at the same time overlapping time frame of a band that I was in called Reaper's Row, which is like kind of like a crossover-ish style, like hardcore. I wouldn't say true crossover or true thrash by any means, because it was definitely hardcore influenced. It was me, my buddy Sai, who I mentioned, who was in Hard Age.
Yeah,
Mike
singer.
Dirt played guitar in that band with me.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I got a little closer to Dirt, is during that time.
Okay.
And I think both of us got really good at guitar because of that band. Like I will just say it like that, because we really like challenged ourselves for like the songwriting and stuff, and Dirt got like really good,
Yeah.
really good, really fast. And I think it challenged me a lot too to like try to write
better.
to get better. And my buddy Mark, who plays drums in Doomsday.
Okay.
Yeah, and he records bands as well, and he lives over in the East Bay. He was the drummer of that band. There's not much like left of that band as far as like people ever like mentioning or talking about it. Like the recording quality was pretty like
Reaper's Row is a sick name though.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I love that.
I didn't come up
awesome.
with that name actually. Our singer, who I won't even want to mention, we don't talk to him anymore, but he's the one who called it Reaper's Row. I'm not sure where he got that from again, but I like the alliteration of the R and the R. It was just like Reaper's Row, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of cool.
RR.
Yeah, looking back at it now, it was like kind of like, I wouldn't say corny, because I definitely put a lot of heart into like the songwriting. I didn't write any of the lyrics or anything.
Yeah.
But that kind of ended, and I ended up starting Field of Flames in 2017 with newer people who I haven't played music with before. That was during the time when I met like Ged and Ian, who play in Extinguish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I actually met Ged at a tattoo shop by running into him and just complimenting his shirt.
Oh, okay.
And then I met Ian through him.
Okay.
And me and Ged have like really similar influences as far as like straight edge hardcore that we were into.
And you right off the bat knew that they were into hardcore, or?
Yeah, because I think we ended up like chatting on like social media like a handful of times probably. I'm not too sure actually. But how I met him was because he had like saw my shirt and I saw his shirt and I was like, oh, it's a hardcore band, And
Oh, okay.
we were in another city. I wasn't in Sacramento and I wasn't in San Jose. I was over in San Francisco where I met him. And he was super into like Unbroken and like Victory Record style like straight edge bands from like the 90s and stuff, and like so was I. And I was like, oh, it's cool. We were similar in age, and I usually don't find people like similar to like my age. Me and him are like, I think probably the same age. He's probably a little older than me. But I started Field of Flames with him on guitar and me singing, because I wanted to just do something different than drums and guitar. And our buddy Ian, who sings in Extinguish, was supposed to play bass somehow. I'm not sure where that idea came from or how that got in the picture, but he actually doesn't play bass or owns a bass at all, I don't think.
That's really funny because, okay, I'm gonna
Go ahead, yeah.
spill the beans a little bit, but I was asking Joseph about Condition 1, and he was like, yeah, so I was maybe gonna play drums for that, and I'm like, you play drums? And he's like, yeah, kind of. I don't own any drums, and I've never seen him play drums in a single band. So I was like, okay, well, that might be a similar situation to what you were just talking about.
And going off of that, Joseph was supposed to play drums in Field of Flames, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was, dude. He was supposed to. He ended up not doing it, though. And for the first show, he played guitar, I think. He played guitar. And our first show was, like, in Santa Cruz, like, in early 2018, like, January 2018. And Ian didn't end up playing in the band at all.
Oh, okay.
And our buddy Jose, who plays bass in Extinguish, I think he heard the demo that I put out. I recorded this demo on my own with Mark, and I just put it out on Bandcamp with no members or anything to the band name. And so it was just like a project I just did for fun. And Jose ended up liking it so much that he was like, yo, I'll like straight up learn the songs and like I'll play a show with you guys or whatever. And I didn't really know him too well at the time, actually. I didn't get closer with him until like Field of Flames. But yeah, it ended up being 5 of us at that first show. Our original drummer is who played that show. It wasn't Angel or anything.
Okay.
Angel wasn't until more recently playing drums.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
he's been the only lineup change since then. And 2017
wow,
to
so
now.
everything's been original.
Yeah, it's been all of us still the same.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's the start of Field of Flames, though, 2017-18.
Awesome. Was because you write all the music for it, correct? Like you write the drums, the guitar, and the vocals and all that stuff. Is that correct, or?
As far as like performing them on the recordings, yes.
Yeah.
But as far as like the songwriting, it's all pretty integrated as far as like what we want to sound like and like what we should. Some of the riffs have been like written by someone else and then like corrected or fixed or changed a little bit. But it's honestly pretty cohesive.
Okay.
Like more so than like a lot of other bands I think like that are out right now.
Yeah.
That sometimes have like a one person who's like writing and
the
doing
music.
everything.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like on the newest record that we did, like Jose
record.
wrote the first like intro song, and then
nice.
Ged wrote the whole second song. I wrote like an instrumental track on there just for fun, I think, in the studio, and then little things like that. So it's all pretty cohesive as much as we can have it be, you know?
Yeah.
Because I like to not have extreme ownership of it, even though like I'm the one who started it.
Yeah.
Because I think like if I were to do that, it doesn't allow anyone to like take initiative to like contribute to anything because they're like, oh, this person will write it all, you know?
Definitely.
So I like to make it as like open for everybody as possible, cohesive, yeah, so everybody can have like a piece of it. And yeah.
That's awesome. So from release to release for Field of Flames, from the demo to the EP that you wrote, or is that also a demo?
There was a demo
in
and
2017.
and there was an EP that does not exist online anymore.
Oh,
there was
another
another one, yeah. There was another one. It's gone though.
So how has Field of Flames, would you say, evolved from release to release? Has there been like specific things you wanted to do differently, or just how has the songwriting
for the songwriting
evolved?
Yeah, how has it evolved? I'd say it's definitely become a little more like metallic and heavier in nature.
Yeah.
I think, you know, just because I like to write music that caters to like what I like personally. And I'm not just going to write something for the sake of writing it, you know, because this is like what's popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to sound like something that like we all like. And even though Field of Flames isn't necessarily like it's obviously not like a beat down hardcore band or anything like that. All of us in the band like heavier music and like prefer heavier music. So from like demo to like now, try to keep it like still leveled with the same like influences that you could still hear that I originally had based the band like off of. Bands like Undertow or like Strife.
Okay.
Slugfest, stuff like that. But so you still hear those influences I think in it, but I think Field of Flames has definitely evolved into like its own thing where it doesn't sound like those bands, not like directly anymore. I'd say just a little more like metallic and more aggressive. And as far as like the lyrical content, I think it stayed pretty true to like stuff I've been experiencing or like personal experiences and stuff like that or how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
More so than like I'm writing about like something
Something
else,
else.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
external.
definitely really unique to like me. And so sometimes I can understand why people like can't sing along to it, or some of the lyrics are kind of like um organized like back to back to back, where there's just so many lines and long words like associated with everything.
Yeah.
Um so I totally get that, because it's definitely not a band you can like easily sing along to.
Yeah.
But like live, whenever we play, like people are like, "Oh, that was a cool ass breakdown," you know. And like
Yeah.
I'm not oblivious to that. Like I understand that, and I think it's cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you ever have issues when performing live with your vocals when you have like a longer break where there's a lot of words happening and you gotta sing a lot in a row?
absolutely, dude. I'll be honest, dude. I like it was really hard for me to learn how to do any kind of like vocals, like and it's still hard for me now, dude. Like there's been so many times where like I've recorded stuff and I went into the studio and screamed like 2 lines, and I was like, dude, I can't do this day 'cause I already blew out my voice, because I don't know how to do it right.
Yeah.
And I'm just not good at vocals, dude. It's like really hard. It took me just trial and error and like seeing what works for me, as far as like breathing and like how I pattern my words. Where I'm just like, fuck, I have to cut this out. I have to cut this lyric out, because I can't fit all these like sentences that I want to in there,
Yeah.
and it doesn't come out the same as how it sounded in my head when I wanted to record it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely hard like live. Like those breaks that I try to like take allow me to be able to continue on, but like some of the faster songs we have, dude, like they're
Like
fucking
Fallen Angel.
dude, that's fucking rough, dude. I can't do it. Like I straight up can't do it live.
Yeah.
If there were for whatever reason someone were to approach us and say, like, hey, can we do like a live studio session of like your guys' band? I'd probably have to decline, because I'm not gonna be able to fucking do it, bro.
Yeah,
I can't.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I Speaking of recording, are all of Feel the Flames releases with Toshio? Did you record them with him?
No, so I have a demo which is recorded with Mark.
Okay, yeah.
I had the EP that came after that, was 4 songs, that was recorded with Mark also.
And that's not
It's not online anymore.
Not online.
And there was a single that I also put out like March of 2018 that was recorded with Mark, that I also got removed offline.
Okay.
But it got re-recorded, and it's called State of Regression, and it's on
That's a great song.
Yeah, so that it got redone. Like obviously it got done like much more proper, and it wasn't released as a single. It was a part of the track list, right?
Yeah.
And then that LP that we just released earlier this year was with Toshio, and the EP that we just recorded a couple years ago called Remnants of a Collapsed Existence, that one was with
great.
Toshio as well.
Okay, cool. So
I guess 2 and 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does Toshio ever offer any sort of feedback, or will he fill in on an instrument or anything like that? Because I've heard that he does that sometimes.
Oh yeah,
with
he
other
will.
bands,
Yeah,
and he offers his own input.
Yeah, he like if I can't hit a dive bomb, I'll be like, dude, take the guitar and hit the dive bomb so it sounds good. So when people listen to it, they'll be like, oh, this was Feel the Flames. Fuck no, dude. It was like Toshio doing a crazy ass dive bomb on the record.
Yeah.
And like he won't even like go out and say that, but like I have to give credit where like it's due, you know. And I'm not gonna like front and say like he didn't give me good input or feedback on like how I sounded or how I should change things.
Yeah.
You know, he's helped me out a lot as far as like coaching on like how I say the words, or like, hey, you think you said that word wrong. I think one of the biggest ones I can think of was one of the lines I said in in the first EP had a lyric that says, I will pursue the truth. And I don't know why. I remember him stopping me and saying like, actually, I think it's pursue. I pursue. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm stupid. Like you're right, you know? And he's like, yeah, do that instead or whatever. He's like, unless that's like, he's like, he always like reconfirms it, like, unless that's like the way you want it, like, you know, like depends on how you want it to sound. But it definitely offers like a challenging experience like every time I go in there, so I have to come on like my A game, ready to rock and roll, you know, because otherwise it's a product of like him as well, as much as it is with us. So I would just hope he takes pride in it as much as like I do, you know, with how the end product comes out.
Yeah. Do you think your recordings have gotten better as you've recorded with him? Because I know that those two, just by looking at numbers, those last 2 releases that you were talking about, the EP and then this last album that you put out, have done better on a more numbers scale. So do you think that the songs have just turned out better just partially because of that?
Absolutely. I think the songs turn out better because of that. And ultimately, as far as like the feedback that we've got like after the release, I think the planning of like the releases of them were much more thought out and like methodical instead of just like the demo where I wanted to just like kind of put it out.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like I'm pretty surprised with like the feedback that like it's received and everything. And I have no one else to thank besides like Tosha for helping me like facilitate all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up.
No worries, dude.
But Indecision Records. How did your relationship with those dudes start?
I think that relationship started with the dude who runs the label. His name is Dave Mandel.
Okay.
And Dave Ito. They're the ones who approached Joseph, I think. I'm not sure how they approached him or heard about Field of Flames or whatever, but I think they were familiar with Joseph's boss at his work, who's also like affiliated with hardcore, like an older head dude.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph brought it to me saying that that they were interested in like contacting Field of Flames, and they found out that like Joseph was affiliated with it, and they said like, how do we get in contact with this band to put like music out with them?
Yeah.
And he just redirected them to me after that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
And I remember them reaching out to me via like a phone call, like in the middle of the day, where we planned out, hey, we'll talk to you about like, what your goals with the band are, like what would you want to do, or like how does this sound and stuff. And the process was like pretty fast from there, because I was like, fuck, well, we got to write more songs now. We got to hit the studio like sooner than later, because thankfully we already had some like songs like kind of like demoed out, or like ideas that I already had. I was like, okay, cool, this is a good opportunity to be able to be a part of this cool label with these songs that we've already been kind of working on,
Yeah.
And that's how that relationship came to be. As far as like what came after that, the vinyl and the pre-orders for everything, like that was all done by like Dave, and he's a super mature dude, and he's like doesn't get ahead of himself. He's like, bro, I've been doing this for so long. I know how to do this. Like, trust me. And like he just did everything so fluid. And I have so much respect and like appreciation for everything that he's like done, and how much he like supports the band,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can say that I'm a proud owner of one of the first 200 original pressings.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I think those went pretty quick. I was surprised.
Yeah, they did. I think they were
pretty
gone in a
quick.
couple weeks. Yeah.
Dude, I would think they were trying to do like more, but there's just been like a super delayed like backup as far as like getting vinyl printed for many bands.
Anybody, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're still waiting to do the second one, because it's just taken
forever,
so long, but not on their end, It's just like this is the turnaround time for them.
And stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think new ones will come out soon, because I know at shows people usually ask me like, "Oh, do you guys have vinyl?"
Yeah.
And I always have to say no, because they're all gone.
Yeah. Will this next release or this next run have the EP on it as well, like the other vinyl?
Will it have the EP on it as well? What do you mean? So will it have the?
Because I know that the vinyl that I purchased, it had both the full length and then the EP at the end as well.
You're right. Yes, I get what you mean. Yeah, this next run of the other ones that are coming out soon, they're gonna have the same things on them. Yeah, same track listing. So it's gonna have I think total was like 10 songs or something like that total, probably.
Nice.
Like 7 and then like 4 more, 8 and 4 more. But yeah, it's gonna be the same.
Nice. So you guys have played out of state once. Did you play Vegas, or have you only played Tacoma?
Yeah, Tacoma. We didn't get to play Vegas or anything like that. Yeah.
But in the new year, you guys are going to be playing FYA.
Yeah, in January.
So that's your first. That'll be your second time out of state. Am I correct? With Field of Flames.
We haven't played out of state too much. I mean, like we're all like pretty busy, and like I'm really thankful for the opportunities that we have been able to play out of state, because like opportunity doesn't come like often for like many bands, and I'm not sure how those opportunities even like came about sometimes. But we've played in Tacoma twice. I've played in Salt Lake City twice. Both of them were this year actually. We played in Philadelphia once, and then we played down in Southern California probably like 3 times. Yeah. And as far as like the Bay Area, we've played it probably like 6-7 times. Like more than a handful for sure.
Wow, you guys haven't played that many shows actually then.
We don't really play too often, honestly. No.
Yeah, that's
Field of
true.
Flames doesn't play a lot of shows. No.
That's true. So would a Field of Flames tour ever be in the cards, ever in the future?
Yes, I don't want to say no, because I'm for sure yes, more so. The only thing that's really holding back a Field of Flames tour and what always was, I'd say for sure it was me, and everyone else in the band would say so because my schedule is, I don't know, man. It's just I'm pretty like
Busy.
just busy. Yeah, just busy, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish it had happened sooner. I wish it could have happened. There's been opportunities people have asked us, hey, let's do like tours and let's do runs and stuff. And definitely in the next year, like I plan on being a part of something like that, you know.
Nice.
Post like FYA, maybe in the spring, who knows, or summer. I don't know yet, you know.
Nice.
But it'll happen for sure.
What about new releases?
New releases.
Is there anything that we should look out for in the future? You don't have to be too explicit about it.
I'll just say, yeah. I'm not hella
cool.
secret about the band or anything like that because I don't think it's at the level where I need to be like, oh, stay tuned type shit. You know?
Yeah.
No, we're recording music on December 3rd with Toshio. So in a couple weeks here, it's gonna be 3 songs, and one of them is gonna be a song we always play live. That was on that old EP that I mentioned.
Okay.
I'm just gonna re-release it as like a newer track, and then 2 actual full newer songs. And I have some of them like demoed out here on my phone that we've done like demos of already. I'll go ahead and show you them after this, and you can check it out. But I don't know what the plan is for those as far as like a release. Maybe I don't know if it's gonna be before FYA. It's probably kind of soon, but probably after that or so.
Yeah.
Once I have
sometime in the new year.
yeah, once we all have a better understanding of like the how to release it and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, go follow Feel the Flames on Instagram for all the updates.
Hell yeah. Okay.
So before we wrap it up, I do want to ask you about Condition 1 because I love that little demo that you guys put
Thank
out.
you.
Like those songs are sick.
Thank you, dude.
Like honestly. So was that your idea, or did you start that with somebody else, or what's the
Condition 1's that was me, dude. Like I kind of like got people to play the set with us, like that show we played.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, but like those songs, one of the songs that I had written, so the 3rd song on there was for another old band that I wanted to start. I just never did anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
That might be why it kind of sounds a little different than the first 2 songs because it was originally for another band.
Yeah.
The second song I kind of just like wrote on my own too. And the first song, yeah, I also kind of just wrote on my own. And as far as the recording process went, dude, I recorded the Condition 1 demo, I'd say like summer 2020.
Oh, wow.
So those songs have been recorded for a long time
wow.
already. Yeah. And then since then, the more recent like updates we've done to them is I've just changed out like some of my lines that I said on the vocals because the vocals are me as well. And then,
all you.
The drums, yeah, everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got some sick screams on there and stuff.
Thank you, dude. Dude, it took so long to learn how to be able to like have like
the
range,
like death metal or
yeah,
black metal type screams. Like,
honestly, those are easier. They're a little easier for me, I think. I don't know. The higher like projection of like vocal range is hard. I think it sounds a little more like me when you hear the Feel the Flames ones.
Yeah.
But the Condition 1 vocals, I don't think people would say, oh, that kind of sounds like the Feel the Flames vocals because it really doesn't. But as far as the name Condition 1, yeah, I came up with that a while ago because Condition 1 just means like a locked and loaded gun. That's all it really means.
Yeah.
And
it's just a term.
Yeah, it's a term that's like, I don't know. I was first taught that term in the military,
Mm-hmm.
and like a weapon's like Condition 1.
Yeah.
That means like there's like a round in the chamber. And as far as like the aesthetic and all of it goes, I don't know. I think it just pays homage to like older hardcore influence, I guess you can say. Like the artwork, I wanted like a super cool like graffiti looking logo, you know. And as far as like the lyrical content, it's all just like pretty standard, like negative, like hardcore lyrics. Not anything crazy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't plan on singing in the band. I really didn't want to at all.
Really?
No, I didn't want to. I asked multiple people if they wanted to, and people were always like, yeah, like I'll get back to you, or like maybe or whatever. But then like, I don't know. Now I guess I end up playing drums, and my buddy Danny, I guess, is singing in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you gonna do more like singing on it as well? Because I really like the breakdown where you're singing,
yeah.
and it kind of goes into more of a melodic.
Yeah, that
thing.
part was yeah. I mean, if on the next recording, if this band still like, because I still don't know what's going on with this band,
Okay.
or like who's in it, or if any
It'll
of the members
continue.
actually even want to be in it. I'm not too sure, but if we record more stuff, I mean, I guess I can integrate that like integrate that a little more. That was kind of just done like on a whim, like super random.
I really am a big fan of it,
Dude, I had people like reach out and like say like, dude, that was like my favorite part of that. Was it that 10-second like, part towards the end of the song? And I was like, really? Like, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't think there's, I don't know, there's not as much stuff in hardcore where it is like a really heavy band and then it takes a break like that.
Yeah, it's pretty yeah, I guess you could say it is a little different. I'm not sure where like I wanted to get that influence from. I know exactly where I wanted to get that from. There's this band called Agents of Man. I'm going to show you them after this. You can listen to Agents of Man, and that vocal style is like, dude, it gets me so hyped whenever I hear them. Like, it's so sick. And I wanted to like add a little part with that vocal style in there. And I heard my buddy Mark when he was recording, he's like, "Oh, you can just try it,
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote some lines for it, and it's kind of how it happened. Really, that's about it.
Yeah, nice. Well, I would say that the last question that I have would be, and this is as someone who is also this. That doesn't make any sense. But I was going to ask you, why or how did you get into straight edge? And why do you continue to be straight edge?
Dude, I got into straight edge also through my cousin Christian. He was like straight edge, and he was he knew who Casey Jones was in Evergreen Terrace when we went to that show and stuff like that. So he knew about those bands. I didn't know what they were though. And I didn't know what straight edge was, but he knew. And he's not straight edge anymore. Actually, he's not.
All right.
I don't think he has been for like a very long time. But in his teenage years, he was, and he's the one who showed me that. And from there, I found like straight edge bands of like. That I kind of discovered on my own. I think some big straight edge bands for me were like Champion was like a really big straight edge band for me, which is like some band on the Bridge 9 label from like the early 2000s. Who else was like a big straight edge band for me? Fuck, I'm like totally blanking out right now.
Why'd you decide to be straight edge?
Oh, dude, my parents like are like super. I mean, my dad like drinks and stuff like that, but my parents are always pretty strict on like just having like a pretty disciplined like lifestyle as far as like the idea of like smoking cigarettes. They're like, dude, I'm gonna fucking like rip your head off if you ever even try a cigarette type thing,
Yeah.
So I was already kind of like straight edge in a way, you know. I just didn't know it was like
you're conditioned to be that.
Yeah, I just didn't know that that's like what it was. They didn't even know they don't know straight edges or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know there was something like involved in hardcore that had to do with like being drug and alcohol free. That's such like a weird concept for me because people were like, oh, you go to metal hardcore shows, people like drink and get fucked up and they party and stuff, And that's such a I don't know. I think straight edge is still like pretty random. Like
it is.
So like because involved in hardcore like heavier music where you don't like drink or smoke. It's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's cool. I guess that's me. You know.
Because when I tell people when I say like, oh, I am straight edge. Most people are like, what's that? And then when I tell them it's what it is, they're kind of like, oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah. Like why do you say straight edge? Like, what is that? So you mean you just don't smoke or drink? And I'm just like, yeah, basically. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's more of a lifestyle thing. That's what I tell people. It's almost like a lifestyle.
Yeah. It's such like a part of me now that I really don't like think about it too much. Like every now and then I'll like X up at shows because like I just think it's still cool to do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like in middle school, dude, I would like draw X's on my hands. I just, like during class and stuff because I just liked having X's on my hands and stuff. And like I'd put like X's on like everything. Like I just love straight edge. Like bands used to have like X something X in their names all the time. Like there was like straight edge bands that would have X band name X. Like there's a poster right here on the wall that I have. You can't see it behind the tree, but it says X Bishop X.
Yep.
That poster. It's just like I don't know. Bands used to always like have that shit, and it was like really appealing to people who were like, yeah, I'm straight edge, But and not only that, but just besides that, I just like living like besides being just drug free or whatever the hell. I like to think I live a pretty disciplined life, like overall. Like I work out like pretty often.
Clean.
I run pretty often. I clean like every single day. Like I scrub my bathroom floors. Like I think I'm overall pretty disciplined, dude. I don't think that's thanks to the military. I think it's probably just thanks to like my parents, dude, because my parents are like hardworking and always were the same way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents still like actively like work out and go outside, and they're super productive with like their lives. And I think that's like that resonates with me more than like mm, than like anything else. I think is just being an overall disciplined person in like all aspects of life.
Yeah. So actually, the last question I wanted to have, and I think this will apply to a lot of people. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start writing their own music and starting their own stuff?
Just be genuine with it. I think don't get too in depth as far as like the influence of like how it should sound. I think it is helpful though to like have some kind of like aesthetic you're going for, so it's not too all over the place. Especially now, like now there's bands are always tied with like a certain aesthetic now. It can't just be like, oh, this is a band that sounds like this. Like I don't know. I think people get too caught up in that though, and they just lose sight of like having it be a genuine thing. So I don't know, bro. Just put heart into it and make it like real.
Just be authentic.
Yeah, just be authentic, yeah. And be as original as you can. It's okay. I know a lot of people's first bands, they take influences from like what's immediately or their immediate surroundings, like what's around them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay and all, but I think it helps a lot to like do your homework and actually like enjoy hardcore, like in all types of hardcore from like throughout like hardcore history, and just being familiar with that like allows you to like have so much more range with like what you want to go for. And taking influence from like other music that you listen to as well, even outside of hardcore, will overall make you a better songwriter, I think. Because I don't know how people only listen to hardcore to write hardcore. It's like, dude, there's so many other things to listen to or things you can experience to be able to help you with your crafting as like a musician, I guess.
Yeah, you can take from so many different
places. And it
places.
makes it more genuine, like authentic. You learn like different words or like how to say different types of things,
Phrasings
and
and
different yeah, exactly. So I don't know, not to get super deep into it, but I say just make it as genuine as you can,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was the interview. Thank you again, dude, for doing this. Like, I hella appreciate it.
Yeah,
again.
dude, no worries. Hell
like
yeah.
I said, your bands are some of my favorites. Keep doing what you're doing, and I mean, if you guys are playing 2 shows next month, yeah?
I'm doing a Condition 1 show, and then I'm doing a Feel the Flames
Feel the
show.
Flames.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah, I'll hopefully mob back up to the Bay for both of those.
I remember you were saying you weren't going to be able to for that one. I felt so bad, dude.
I'm
fuck.
okay. So now
Yeah.
I think I'm going to. I'm going to make the effort to come back up here and witness that.
Okay, hell
I
yeah.
really want to catch Condition 1, and then obviously Feel the Flames is always sick as well.
Damn, thank you for wanting to do that and having the dedication. Dude.
Oh,
It means
of
a
course,
lot.
of course.
That's sick.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I love the lineup as well. So I'm very excited for those. Check it out if you live in the Bay Area. Come to those shows.
Yeah.
And thank you again.
Yeah, no worries, dude. Thank you.
That was it.